Hello. Today I'd like to tell you how you can improve your OKE security posture using Oracle CloudGuard. So first of all, what is CloudGuard? So CloudGuard is a service built within OCI, which allows you to monitor the configuration of OCI resources to ensure that they are configured in a secure manner. So to do this, we rely on something called recipes. So recipes have come in two forms. We have the detector recipes and the responder recipes. A detector recipe is essentially a recipe that provides a number of criteria in which your resources are evaluated against to ensure they are configured correctly. A responder recipe essentially defines rules to respond to these to the resources that are affected by these detector recipes. So as far as OKE goes, we have a new recipe called the OCI Container Security Config recipe, which if we click into it, we can see a number of rules that apply to containers running within a Kubernetes cluster. So a few examples are service is exposed through a host port, a container is using a privileged port, the container is running with a writable file system, and the container is running with allow privilege escalation. So these are just a few of the rules that we have within this recipe. So this recipe, in order to apply it to your clusters, what we need to do is clone it. So you go ahead and click clone here. You click the recipe you want to clone, and then what compartment you want to place it in. So I already did this before, so I won't do it again. But once it's cloned, you will see that it appears. In my case, this is the container security recipe. And you can go in here and you can change these rules such that you can enable the rule, disable the rule, and apply a different risk level to that rule. On top of that, you can apply different labels, which just identify sort of what category these rules are in. And you can also apply a filter on these rules such that you can exclude or include certain resources to be evaluated by this detector rule. So, for instance, here in the conditional group, you can use namespace selectors as a way to include or exclude resources. And you can also use the pod resource or the pod or resource label selector as well as the OCID of the cluster. Now, what we need to do is create a target for this. So if we go back to CloudGuard, we go to configuration, click on targets, and then let's create a target. So just apply the name to a target, the compartment you want to apply that to. And I already did this, so I'll go ahead and click cancel. In the target, click on the container security configuration and then add the recipe to the target. So in my case, I've added the container security recipe to this target, which is targeting this compartment. Therefore, the clusters are within this compartment. Now, how do we actually see if if my cluster and my containers are compliant or not? What you can do is go to alerts. Click on Problems on the left, click on Filters, Detector Type equals Container Security. So right now in my cluster, it seems like I have a number of alerts here that have been raised, such as container references image from registry not permitted, container using privileged port, and the container is running as root. Now, how I can tell what container this is if I click into this, you can see on the right-hand side, the granular resource ID will actually tell you the namespace and the type of resource that is raising this alarm. So here I have this Nginx deployment running within the default namespace in this cluster and this cluster ID. You can also see when it was detected and what label this particular rule is. So how can we actually fix this? So if we go to the YAML file where I've defined this container, you'll see where a number of these issues can pop up. So you can see here I have this nginx.yaml. This is the container that's raising all of those alarms. And we can see I'm not defining any security context. I'm using a privileged port with this container port here, 80. And this container is running as root by default. So this is sort of an issue. So to actually solve these issues, and actually before I do that, what I would like to show you is if I run this .yaml, which is the insecure Nginx, you'll see I get a number of warnings. These warnings are the rules within CloudGuard telling me that this container is violating rules within my recipe. So you can see container, it uses reserved port. It has no liveness probe, has no readiness probe. Privilege escalation is not allowed. Uh, I'm running it with the default security context, right? And I'm not specifying a security context for it. So to solve these issues, well, I have to change the .yaml to actually support or to erase these warnings. So I need to write the YAML in such a way that's compliant the with CloudGuard. So this is just a modification of that .yaml in such a way that it will deal with all the warnings that I've been given. So you can see I'm building another service account. I'm creating a new role binding for that account. I'm creating a new deployment where I'm explicitly defining the security context. And I'm running as a non-root user. I'm dropping capabilities. I'm giving it a liveness probe. I'm giving it a readiness probe. I'm explicitly defining resource requests, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the previous .yaml and apply the new one. Okay, you see most of the errors are gone except for one, which is container nginx has an invalid image repo. The reason this warning is appearing is because by default, the recipe will require that you use container images that originate from OCI. Now, depending on your security requirements, you may change this recipe rule to be less strict. However, it is recommended to only get images from repositories that you know and trust. Okay, now that we've actually solved most of the issues that CloudGuard was giving us, we can go back into the console, go back to problems, go ahead and enter this again, detector type equals container security, and then we can resolve these issues. So for instance, now I'm not using containers using privilege port, so I can mark this as resolved. And then I go down this list and mark these issues as resolved. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful, and you are able to get good use out of this new recipe that is provided in CloudGuard and improve the security posture of your Kubernetes clusters. Thank you.